Hey y'all, it's Kandace Noire. I wanted to make a video for you on frequently asked questions that I get as a vegan. Make sure you thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and share with a friend. Thanks for watching. Also, there are footnotes in case you want to scroll through the video.
It's protein, carbs, fats, vitamins, minerals. I don't check. If there's a specific meal and I want to post about it and I want to break it down by price and nutrients, I'll do that. But I know if I'm eating clean, I'm getting all the things that I need. I know based on how my body feels. I know based on how my digestion is, my energy levels. Um, Basically, your body tells you what you need. Your body is programmed to you and to tell you exactly what you need and what you're lacking and what you're doing well on. So, and also people who take herbs and supplements and stuff like that, you'll know. So I do suggest people take a vitamin if you feel like you're going to have any deficiencies. I don't have a deficiency in B12 or anything that people would think vegans commonly have. It takes B12 like 6 months to deplete from your system. So even after you've stopped eating meat, for your B12 levels to be low, it'll take a while for them to deplete. And you want to go to your doctor and have your blood work done and check if that's how your levels are with that. Well, I don't think I have an issue with iron. I don't feel fatigued. I don't feel the need to eat things like ice or any type of pica issues or whatever. So I'm pretty sure my iron is fine and my B12 is fine. If you're eating leafy greens and stuff like that, and like I said, if you're getting your whole spectrum of fruits and vegetables and you're getting your proteins as far as vegan protein, which we'll go into, you should be fine. You should be good. I think a lot of people are more nutrient deficient when they're eating a standard American diet. So the next question is, what are some healthy breakfasts? Basically, what I eat for breakfast every morning, mostly during the week, is a smoothie. So I'll have a smoothie. If you something I also like to have is a tofu scramble. If I'm craving like an egg type of breakfast, because I used to eat a lot of eggs and a lot of like bacon and toast. If I'm craving a breakfast like that, I'll have a tofu scramble. So basic pancakes, which I had, which are also on my Instagram very recently. So spelt pancakes are 2 whole wheat pancakes. You know what I mean? Just don't eat a ton of them. That's the whole thing. It depends if your goal is to cut weight, just eat less and try to eat healthier things. So that's what I'm here to help you guys with if that's something you're looking to do. But I like to call reduced oatmeal. So reduced oatmeal is because I used to eat oatmeal with like butter and sugar and cinnamon and nutmeg and condensed milk, like all the way loaded. Just oatmeal that just loses its nutritional value in being oats by just putting so much high fat stuff into it. So by reduce, I don't mean reduce in spices and stuff like that. Spices are fine. But by reduced oatmeal, I mean if you had oatmeal and you just put a little brown sugar, a little agave, a little stevia, whatever, just eating stuff in moderation and not making it so it's something that's not going to be nutritionally dense. So putting different ingredients into it. So, and that's also like switching out your milk. Switching out your milks is one of the easier things to do for some people. And that's where we move on to quinoa porridge. When I was cutting weight, because I've lost weight, so I'll talk about this in another video, but lost weight in 4 months and I've been maintaining it for 3 months now. So I've been kind of within the same 5 pounds for 3 months, but I lost like 45 pounds within 4 months. But anyway, quinoa porridge. I was eating a lot of quinoa porridge. So you get your quinoa, you cook it like regular. So quinoa is a seed that cooks like a rice. It's like super grain, high protein, and you cook it like rice, and you put a little bit more water than you would. So you do that, you cook it down really well, and then you add like a nut milk. So you can add a nut milk and some sweetener, whatever sweetener you choose, and blend it up real nice. All right, so for people who talk about being pressed for time, you can break it into servings and then save a serving each time. So when you go to work, if it's frozen or whatever, if you use a microwave, you can pop it in the microwave. If you have the stove at home and you use only the stove, throw it on the stove. Whatever you do, just try your best in little ways to make your health better. So third question I get a lot is like, where can I shop? So where can I shop and I'm on a budget? So we'll talk about shopping and then we'll talk about budgeting. Okay, I got a little list here. So where can I shop? Always shop the outer aisles. You know, the outer aisles is where the fresher food is and where the least processed food is. The sooner you get into the middle aisles with the cereal and the cans of, SpaghettiOs and stuff like that. It's just, and then it also gets pricier that way when you're. And then a lot of this stuff, there's a place near me called Gunter's Meat Farms. And believe it or not, they have decent produce. They have a wide selection of produce. So you can shop, and I'm pretty sure you guys would have this, your last chance items, like your produce that's like about to go. Maybe you can cook it that night, or maybe it's not perfect. Because we have this thing where we throw out all the ugly foods. There's a documentary on this that I would like to, I'm at least going to show it to my students, but a documentary on food waste. It was this couple. Anybody leave a comment on, if you know what it is, leave a comment. But there's this couple that eats out of the garbage for like 6 months or something like that. I think they live in a very metro area in like California or something. But people are throwing out the ugly foods, throwing out the foods that are like expired, but it's only like the suggested use by date. And I mean, people believe certain things about expiration dates and how long things can last. That's another video. But um, shop the stuff that's discounted if you can. Like there was mushrooms and I not so cute, or it's bruising, and then there's like a whole bunch of apples for $2. So that's that. So you have shopping the outer aisles, you have shopping the last chance foods. Then you have farmers markets. Google a farmers market near you. If you have a farmers market, these things might be less expensive. And I had a friend, she's awake on Instagram. I think she posted um, shop when the farmers market is about to close, because a lot of people don't want to pack it up and bring it home, and everybody's been like sorting through it. I know that sounds gross, but you're going to wash your vegetables anyway. It's a good idea to try to shop the farmers markets, because it's going to be fresh local produce for the most part, and it might be cheaper than your grocery store. um and my friend down south, she brings home like bags and bags of fruit for like $15. I know for $20 I can get like well over a week's worth of produce when I was living in Florida. All right, so we have bulk food stores. So Costco, Sam's Club, BJ's. You can grab a friend and split a membership with that. I think it's like $60 for an executive membership at Costco. I think BJ's is like 50. And my friend and I went on the promo for BJ's, so it was $25. So we went halves on that. And then my other friend found a Costco thing where he got a rebate. So I think it was like a $10 rebate, so he was going to use a rebate, and I think I paid 25. And if somebody has a membership and you can use it, or if you're willing to split a membership with a friend, I suggest doing that. So those stores, why they're good is because things like quinoa, and I've showed you guys some of the things in my pantry. I can show you more if you'd like. Just leave a comment and request what you like. But some of these staples, like maple syrup, where you go and it's $20, you'll find it for 10 or 12 at Costco or BJ's. If this is something that you're going to use all the time. Rice, if you're going to be big on rice or whatever, and I do suggest smaller portions of like the white rices or whatever, or just any straight carby stuff. But um, if you're going to do rice, that's easy to buy in bulk. If you're gonna buy quinoa or lentils, like I got lentils for probably like $10 for like a year's worth of lentils. Quinoa is like a ton of quinoa that I got for like $10. Fruits and vegetables, I get a whole big bag of fruits, and you can't get this measurement. Oh yeah, you can. Forearm. I'm a little woman, but a forearm, probably like 12-inch bag of fruits, of mixed berries. You can get that for like $10. So that'll last, like, for me sometimes like a week and a half, if I'm, depending on how much I want smoothies, and depending on also bananas. Bananas are cheaper that way. Bananas are always pretty cheap, but I'll get like 3 bushels of bananas and just put them in like a paper bag and let them ripen, and then cut them up, and then I have my stuff for my smoothies when I need it. So that'll last me quite some time. Um, so we're saying the cheap discount stores too. Like if you have a cheaper grocery store, when you have a higher end grocery store and a cheaper grocery store. Now, if you want to shop organic, I guess that's a different story. Some things you should get organic. You should look up like the Dirty 30, or I think it's the Dirty 30. It's like these foods that are really going to get sprayed with pesticides more, and are probably harder to like wash off and things like that. That you should buy organic preferably. But for beginners, just go to the stores that are cheaper and find the things that you like. Um, my friend and I were talking about the value of eating frozen foods, like the frozen spinach and kale mix that I get. That's probably like $6. Um, because sometimes things tend to go bad. If you shop in small, if you want to shop smaller, and you can eat that and then buy it as you go, that's great. But it also helps to buy frozen so things don't go to waste whenever you can. So, lastly, shopping, Asian and Indian markets. There's a lot of these markets that are specialty markets, and I'm doing air quotes in my lap, but there are these things that are like specialty markets where you can get your mushrooms and tofu and things like that for a lot cheaper than you would get at regular stores. Especially like jackfruit. If you go to Whole Foods and you get jackfruit, like you have to go and process that jackfruit. And if you don't care about canned jackfruit, it's like $2 at the Asian markets, and probably if you live in the city, a lot cheaper. So you have that. You have all different types of mushrooms at Asian markets. Like a lot of the times they have king oyster mushrooms, which are very hard to find unless you grow it yourself. If you do grow it yourself, Amazon mushrooms and things like that, if those are your staples, you can get them at Asian markets, Indian markets. Chickpeas, you know, Indian people eat in abundance, especially since a lot of Indians are vegetarians. A lot of the beans and stuff they'll have in abundance. And if you want to buy beans in bulk, beans are cheap, you know, that's another thing. So that I would have is like beans and legumes. Beans are, well, bean is a legume, but beans are cheap. Lentils are cheap. If you're gonna do those, if you're gonna make them into stews, you can make them into patties. Like if that's your base, you can make falafel. You know, if you get chickpeas, you get, especially if you get dried beans, they're a lot cheaper, and you don't have to worry about like the salt content because you do it yourself. If you have, we're talking about a budget. Somebody was asking, how can I shop on a $50 a week budget? Collect your staples, plan your meals, and then add from there. Okay, so you have your nut milks. If you're making hemp milk, like I mentioned, Amazon is a good resource because they have hemp seeds that are like, it depends how much you like milk, but when you change your diet, it'll just come second nature to you to not really want those things. Or you'll smell milk and be like, it smells funky, or it smells processed, or something smells a little weird about it. Like your preferences will change. So nut milks, hemp milk, you can buy hemp seeds online and make your own hemp milk. Bananas are a good staple. Bananas are cheaper. Frozen fruit, also a good staple. um, Herbs and spices. So I like nutritional yeast because it's got a lot of B12 and it has a cheesy flavor for a lot of different things. Your seasonings are really what makes your food taste like the foods that you like. You know, I don't think people like meat because of the taste of blood or because of the taste of whatever. I mean, I used to love a rare piece of beef, but I think it's also like a lot of the fish and everything else is mostly because of the seasoning. And some of these things you can replicate, but if not, it's good to just have some good flavor on what you're eating anyway. Um, so we have grains and carbs. So maybe oats, like your base is like an oatmeal. If you're gonna do an oatmeal, you want to do one better. Get steel cut oats or use quinoa and make that like oatmeal. Quinoa is another grain that you can use. Your bread, Ezekiel bread, is a really good sprouted grain bread, but Aldi, if you have Aldi near you, they have a really good sprouted grain bread as well. That's probably like $3 as opposed to the 6 that Ezekiel bread is. But this bread is frozen and it's hearty, so you can freeze it and use it for a long time. And when I get bread from Aldi, although it's not frozen, I do put it in the freezer to store. So you have your rice and sweet potatoes or whatever regular potatoes you use. Some vegans eat regular potatoes. I really would like to maintain my weight, so I try not to eat white carbs because I know with me it'll become like a thing where I'm just eating a ton of it. So sweet potatoes. Then greens, so your spinach. My base greens are spinach and kale. Asian markets, I went to one yesterday. They had mustard greens for like maybe $3, and probably like a good 3 or 4 servings in there. So I like to steam those. And a lot of the markets, like I said, it depends on where you get them. But whatever greens you like, if you like arugula, find a green that you like and stick to it for the most part. And you can, you know, make it into a salad. So your add-ons, peppers, onions, you know, those things that help flavor your foods. You can add peppers and onions to a salad. You can add citrus to your salads. You can make dressings. And then your pantry stuff, your chickpea flour, your flour. And then lastly, the 10th staple will be your fresh fruit, your tomatoes, your strawberries, your blueberries, things like that. And then if you want dairy, if dairy is going to be a staple to you, then fine. But if we're talking cost, it's best for you not to buy processed fake meats and not to spend a lot of money on boxed plant milks and stuff like that. So that's where you start to go up in cost when you're buying like replicated dairy or meat items. So if you're buying like the pseudo cheeses, if you're buying the yogurts and things like that, if you need a probiotic, we'll get into that in another video. But All right, so we're talking about shopping on a budget. Can't talk about shopping without giving you some examples of what you can eat, okay? So I've planned out some hemp milk you made with your wonderful time that you have cracker dough on a late at night like we're doing this now. Um, and then you have a banana, and then you have berries. You throw that in there with your preferred sweetener without sweetness, because a banana will sweeten it to make it really creamy. It's very nice. And if you have an avocado, maybe you did dinner and you have half an avocado laying around. That's the thing. When you have your staples down, you'll probably have more money for variables. Like, all right, this week we're gonna go make a chili and I want to put avocado on top. So I'm gonna use half of this avocado for my chili and the other half for like breakfast and my smoothie or whatever you want to do. So you have a smoothie in the morning. Let's say for lunch you have a chili with kale and white beans. So you can literally throw stuff on a pot and let that cook for like an hour or so. It's peppers, um, kale, lentils, beans. You throw everything in there and you cook it down. So that'll be your lunch. And this is if you're having a full blown thing. If you're trying to lose weight, once your body adjusts and once you really listen to your body and listen to when you're actually getting full and things like that, you might be fine with, having a big smoothie and having lunch later on and whatever. Just fill your body out. But this is just a thing for somebody who wants three squares. So then let's say for dinner you have a lentil patty. Let's say you cook lentils, you put some of those lentils to the side. Sweet potato soul also on YouTube here is great. And she'll cook things and separate them for different things. Like a lot of people do that. Like, oh, here's a huge pot of lentils for the week. I'm going to use this in a patty. I'm going to use this in a stew. I'm going to use this on top of a salad. So let's say you make a lentil patty with quinoa in it or quinoa on the side, and you use onions, tomatoes, or maybe you have rice on the side, and then you have spinach. So no matter how you create it, you can, whatever you prefer. If you are a hamburger person, and make yourself a lentil patty on a bun, or make yourself a lentil patty on like between lettuce or whatever you want to do. And so the second day, day two, will be like the steel cut oats. Let's say you do that with maybe agave and hemp milk. And then tempeh. If you look on my Instagram, I recently had a tempeh sandwich. And I have an avocado cilantro like dressing type of deal. Is a 3 grain kind of like a ferment, but it's really good. You'll see. Check out the Instagram, you'll see it. But let's say you have tempeh and you cook it like bacon and you do avocado and tomato on a wrap. That's your lunch for day two. And then day three, I saw somebody cook this at my job, except it was a Smart Ones meal. So much MSG in that. So let's say I'll make it myself, and you get those little seeds, or you get a little, if you know how to make yellow rice, or even if it's not yellow rice, whatever. You make fiesta rice and beans. So you have your tomato, peppers, onions. You'll have like a little Mexican seasoning, maybe some cumin or whatever. And I also have a taco seasoning thing on my Instagram as well if you want to see that. There's like Mexican seasonings. But let's say you have that with some corn. You roast some corn real quick, or roast some peppers real quick in the same pan, and you make a rice and beans dish. Boom. Pancakes like I described with some maybe fresh fruit on top. You cut an apple up, or you do whatever you want to do. Let's say you have a pasta. Pasta would be a staple. So use your staple, and then you just get your stuff as you need every week according to your recipes, and then just incorporate those in. So you have a pasta with like maybe a vegan pesto, or roasted chickpeas and cauliflower. Like, have all these things together. And then dinner, this is like how I cut a lot of weight, is I had a huge salad for lunch. So you say you have a hearty salad with like the leftover chickpeas from lunch, the roasted chickpeas, and maybe some leftover pesto, some onions, some spinach, hearty salad. And you have nuts in it, a little bit of nuts, a little bit of seeds or whatever, and you can make a dressing. So I'm sure you guys have time on a night like this, late at night. Whether you have 30 minutes or 2 hours, however long you have to prep your food. Maybe you'll prep your food for the day before. I mean, for the next day at night, or maybe you'll prep your food for the week. It depends on how much time you have and how often you want to prep your food to have new food available to you. Being vegan, where do you get your protein? How do you get da da da? So first of all, the benefits of animal protein. don't outweigh the risks. So you're getting these chemicals, you're getting antibiotics, you're getting cholesterol, you're getting all these things that are not necessarily good. And if you're trying to adopt this lifestyle for whatever reason, I do suggest that you cut it down. Like one of the girls I was watching on here was saying she was having 3 servings of animal protein a day and just felt like it was blocking her up, I guess, somehow. Like it wasn't good for her. She wasn't feeling right. So if you're having an issue, I suggest you at least cut it down. Like if you're like, I'd never be vegan, cut it down at least and see how you feel. And maybe that'll be your next step. If it's not, fine. I'm not here to push it on you. But we get more than enough protein. We need like half our body weight in grams of protein. So let's say I'm 120, I need 60 grams of protein. I had well over 20 grams of protein in my breakfast this morning. Protein for lunch because I did go out and I had like beef patties type of thing. But the protein is always there. The protein is in beans. The protein is in tofu, tempeh. It's in some of the greens you eat. There's minute amounts of protein in lots of fruits and vegetables. Asking, do you still get bloated on your period and blah, blah, blah. I still have some pain. I think it really reflects on how much water I drink because I don't drink a ton of water and exercise because I don't exercise at all. I think if I drink water and exercise more, probably would have like a reduced amount of pain. Like when I had my child, my pain had been greatly reduced, and when I stopped breastfeeding, I can't say I saw a difference. It was a few months ago, but my period has definitely been, it feels like shorter and less of like a nuisance. It's been like, oh, 4 days and that's it, or like 4 days and it's already completely gone. So that's been good. Do I get bloated? It depends on what I eat, and there's people who go around and like, vegan farts don't stink, vegan shouldn't have a period, and it's like, no, your things should be kind of regulated and normal, but you're still going to experience some discomfort with your menses for the most part, and I'll keep you guys updated if that changes, if I don't, if for some reason I start eating ultra clean or I go on a cleanse or something right before my period and I'm like, oh, I can't tell I have my period. And it's so funny because, hey, friend, hey, also somebody that I love out here in the internet, she was like, if you drink enough water, you'll just be like, oh, I have my cycle. So we'll see. That's something I'd like to increase my water intake, but it's definitely less of a pain, especially for those of you who are suffering from uterine illnesses, we'd say. I think it'll definitely help.